The Queen's Gambit holosuite program has finally arrived. A weird alien has a gravity emitter hidden in his ring to help his friend cheat at the Dabo table, and Odo pays special attention to his scowl. Hey, everybody, welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, just in time.
Yeah, right on time.
He knows how to make an entrance. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 17, A Simple Investigation, written by Renee Echevarria. How are you today, Cirroc?
Doing well. Just recuperating and getting back in the flow of things from my Ethiopia and everything else. But we're making moves.
You know, speaking of which,
everybody out there who's been supporting to 7th Rule, we really appreciate all the love.
Yeah, we do. Speaking of which, just we are getting back in the swing of things. We were at Star Trek Las Vegas, also known as 55-year mission by Creation in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was thinking about it today, and I was like, is this the afterglow of Star Trek Las Vegas, or is this like the hangover that we're in? Like, are you, or is it more like a hang glow? Like, you know, like, are you feeling like you need the week to recover from it? Or do you feel like you've got the week of like being above the clouds from it? Maybe that's a free-for-all question.
Yeah, you know what? It's a little bit of both. Because, you know, part of it is just a lot of work because we're out there working all day and then trying to do our little bit of partying at nighttime. So
It catches up a little bit.
Yeah, it catches up after a while. And then the other thing about Creation is that, you know, the event starts Tuesday. So it's almost a week long.
Yeah.
So that makes it almost like doing 2 conventions in a row. Because usually I'm ready for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of convention. And this is adding another 3 days on top of that. So with that in mind, it's like, oh, wow, this is like, it's kind of like after you finish going to Disney World, you're happy about all the rides and the experience, but you're also kind of tired from walking around the park for a week. Mm-hmm. So it's a little mixed emotions, but I have to say that there's a little bit of a glow because I really got to see people that, you know, have been supporting us and our producers and our whole 7th Rule family. That was an opportunity for us to just see each other face to face. And, you know, just sharing and basking in the love, and it's pretty amazing. So I'm riding off of a high from that for sure. And also seeing the fans that come up and have been anxious to get out. That was another kind of experience that was worth it. But yeah, no, I'm still trying to catch up on all the things that I've been missing out for a month, essentially, by not being at home and being away. So I have a whole backlog of things to do. And I've been doing my best to knock them down one by one.
Right. By the way, this episode was directed by John T. Kretschmer. I forgot to mention that at the top. And I was looking
Who's that? John T. what?
Kretschmer. And I was looking up the date. It was actually March 31st, of 1997. So I believe that was after quite a hiatus, because I think the last one was in February. So it seemed like there was a month off in there somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, welcome back to the land of the living, guys. Boy, oh boy. So this was a pretty peculiar episode. Let's actually give a quick shout out to the associate producers that we saw at the convention last week, right? There was
I love it, yeah.
Marie Segal. There was Bill Victor Arucan.
There
was Darlena Marie Blender. There was Yvette Blackmon, TJ Jackson-Bey.
Homer Frizzell.
Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy. There was John Mann, Muhammad Noor. It was a good time. We even had a nice lunch, and Mark Zicree crashed our lunch. Shout out to Mark Zicree for crashing our lunch.
Yeah, it's a good person to crash. It's worth.
That was fun.
Definitely good to have him crash.
Mhm.
And he's got so many things that he's working on. He said he's building a whole like network, all of these things, and doing 6 different shows. Of course, Mark Zicree has like he has a motor in his mind because he just goes nonstop as long as you can just keep talking and talking and talking.
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, this guy. I kind of don't want to download his thoughts. It might be sensory overload for me. But he's a sweet guy, and very nice of him to spend time with us and be so available as he always is.
Also want to give a super quick and final shout out to 2 of our newest patrons who we got to meet at Star Trek Las Vegas, Mike Gu and Stephanie Baker. It was really fun hanging out with them and getting to know some of our newest members. Great people there.
Yes.
Welcome to the team. And now,
and all the people that were our listeners that we don't have a name for, or just that introduced themselves. And I met a lot of people at the con that were avid listeners to the show, and some people even said they didn't miss many episodes at all. So to all the listeners out there, you know who you are, and we thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. And also encourage you to come up and say hello when you get a chance, because it really does make us feel good to know that we're reaching people and that people are looking forward to seeing some of the content we'll put out. So I really appreciate that as well.
Right. There's nothing we like more than somebody actually telling us, hey, I watch your show. And we had some people message us or tweet or comment saying, hey, I saw you guys at the convention, but I didn't want to bother you. And we're like, bother us. We love it. We love hearing from you. We love meeting you. We love hearing from you. Come by and bother us.
Yeah, there's one place to bother somebody about Star Trek. It's at a Star Trek convention.
That's why we're there.
That's actually the designated place to bother.
Not at the pizza parlor, at the Star Trek convention.
Right. Not when I'm in the bathroom. That's a bother.
Sorry about that. That was only twice.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I've forgiven you already.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I think it's just great. The outreach was great. The support was tremendous. Every time I try to promote the 7th rule, 9 times out of 10, they would say, oh, no, I already know about it and I already listened to it. But I will take that flyer with me anyway. So there was actually it was good feedback, a lot of fun. And everybody's so, generous with their spirit and loving. And I really feel like we have a huge family on our hands. And really thanks to Aaron Eisenberg for having this vision and seeing this day before it happened. So that was also nice to kind of pay homage to him and to see his dream come to life.
Our favorite human in the world.
Yeah.
Shout out to our favorite person. Yeah. Favorite human and Ferengi, right? He's going to have orange fingers either from the Ferengi makeup or from the chicken wings. Anyway, so this episode, almost feels like we're stalling. Let's see.
Yeah, well, Odo gets some nookie, it's just it's Odo's how old is Odo? Because he could qualify for the 40-year-old virgin.
I definitely think he's in his hundreds or something as far as
he's got to be 140-year-old.
Probably. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? They didn't really talk about his age. And I don't even know what the founder's lifespan would be like.
I think it's infinite. I don't think they die.
Yeah, that's an interesting question to figure out. But I mean, this is all about Odo, and it's funny how many love interest stories Odo gets as a character, right? We saw him with Majel all over him. We see him in the Akira's character, kind of going back and forth. So they're really pushing.
We see him and Quark getting lonely together.
I wasn't going to say anything. But yeah, they're always pushing this kind of this human experience of love on Odo, right? And it's like they really want to discover the side of him that's in touch with his emotions. We see him as an emotionless person, as somebody who's really just, I think he even makes a reference to it in this episode. He says something like, she said, yo, your wrinkle here is a little bit different. And he said, yeah, every time I morph, I'm slightly different, but I do keep a rugged face of scowl, yeah, rugged scowl for, being imposing and kind of getting his point across. So we see that rugged scowl, that kind of monotone face, but he has so much emotion as a person. Kind of feels like he's locked up. He's closeted emotion person, and he's getting in touch with those feelings.
Since you brought up that specific scene, I had to rewind like 3 times because he did say, I look a little different every day. I pay special attention to my scowl. An air of stern suspicion is very important in my line of work. And then he growls sexually at her.
Yes.
He says, an air of stern suspicion is very important in my line of work. Yarg. He's like, Murr.
Yeah.
And it even in the subtitles, it even said growl. And I was like, wow, Odo transport, like he got it one time and he's just like, I am Casanova, everybody. I'm a caveman. Yar, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
He was just
his animal instinct just started popping up.
Can we talk about just how much flirting and subtext was in at least the first 2/3 of the episode? They were just it seemed like almost every line between them was a flirtation, whether it was, on the nose, like her saying bedroom eyes, or whether it was very subtle, like when she says, I don't know, when she, when she says, when they're talking about the bedtime talk, and she says, like, what do you do instead of going to bed? And he says, oh, I become a gelatinous state. And she goes, ooh, that sounds relaxing. And he's like, it is actually. She's like, I'd love to, have some of that gelatinous state or what. I don't know what was going on there, but I was like, Deep Space Nine, you are so naughty today.
Yeah, they went full naughty on this episode. Definitely started out. I mean, Odo's bedroom eyes, just to say bedroom eyes in general. I'm like, that's being very direct and pretty blunt when you literally place somebody in the bedroom, right? It's like, I want to be looking up at those eyes in a bed. That, at least that's what I get from it when somebody says that. So right away I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let's see how is Odo going to be, because usually he's turned off, right, by aggressive women. And I felt like that standard was set by Majel Roddenberry's character, kind of, trying to attack him and, all over him, like, I want you. And I felt like Odo was the type of guy that is turned off by aggressive women. But he seems to be the opposite in this episode, because this woman is very aggressive and she comes right at him in the beginning. But I was almost thinking in the back of my mind that she was one of these kinds of aliens that have this ability to use her emotions in a certain type of way, right? And make people fall for her.
Right, like the mind sucker that did that to your character last season, right?
Right. I was kind of bracing myself for that this whole episode. I was like, well, is there something about her? Does she have some kind of power, some kind of like an empath, or does she have these telepathic abilities to be able to seduce people? Because she mentioned working for Drain.
Yeah.
The Ryan Syndicate guy. And she mentioned that I guess part of her duties is working for him is being this kind of sounded like prostitution to me to some degree, but I guess a mental one, right?
Yeah,
Letting
that was
people in her mind, you said?
really interesting. I definitely noted that down because that was kind of a new thought. And by the way, the character was in The Muse, the episode where she was kind of controlling your mind
Right.
in a borderline sexual way. But yeah,
Yes.
it was like a net girl, she called it, which is instead of letting men, metaphorically or literally in their bodies, they're letting men in their minds. And I don't know about you, but that kind of made me think of like, well, it's obviously creepy, but I'm like, I guess I could see how some guys would be like, no, I want to be in her mind. I want the whole experience, And that does sound like quite the violation. Actually, there was something kind of similar in Star Trek Nemesis, a movie, the last movie of The Next Generation, in which the Deanna Troi kind of gets like mind raped, like it was raped telepathically. So I don't think this is quite that by the Remans, played by Ron Perlman. By the way, he did that, the great Ron Perlman. She, so this is a little different because it's not necessarily, a telepathic rape. I'm assuming it sounds more like it's just a mental trespassing or mental violation but she's just like, okay, but even like prostitution, they still have, control of their mind, their thoughts, their pride, their hopes, their dreams, their secrets, whereas something like this is just a whole scale
Violation.
access to everything that they are, I guess. I mean, they didn't go into details, but it opened up that theory in my mind. I don't know. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it did. It opened up that theory as well. They kind of just brushed it off to the side. So it was like one line in this episode. They didn't really go into detail, but it opened something in my mind when I was like, did they just say that? Or so she basically is, prostituting herself in that kind of a way, not a physical way, but more of a mental way. And I thought that's an interesting concept, allowing somebody into your thoughts and in your mind and in your head, and allowing them to connect with you in that type of way. I thought, wow, that's interesting. It seems like we're getting to that point now with how much information is available online about us, how information is being collected by all these various companies. It seems as though they're trying to peer into our minds, right? Like you might have a conversation with somebody about a topic, and next thing you know, that topic pops up on your YouTube feed or whatever algorithm. And like,
yes, it does.
About that. Yeah. And you're like, I was just talking about that. And then here is an advertisement for it, or here is an email regarding that. So it's almost as if they're really trying to accomplish that in our day and age, which is, get inside our heads and figure out what our thoughts are, what our dreams are, what our ambitions are, what do we want to purchase, what do we like, what pages we visit, what websites we visit, how much our eyes are, watching particular things. So we're almost geared towards that right now. We're getting to a place where that's becoming a reality.
Yeah, control freaks would get off on that so hard too, because they'd be like, I want to know everything, like people that are like super controlling, they want to know everything that's going on with the woman they like or the man they like. But then also there's like maybe a certain amount of voyeurism in that. Maybe they just want to like see what they're seeing or experience what they're experiencing. And there's a certain amount of voyeurism possible there. And right now our listeners are like, God, you guys, it ain't that deep, but it kind of is. Like it was kind of, like you said, it was just like a one throwaway line. But when they say that, you kind of go, wow, that kind of opens up a whole new realm of possibilities with that. And you're right. We are getting closer to that right now. Even when she just said a net girl, I was like, well, that actually sounds like they knew where the internet was going,
Yeah, yeah, like yeah. I mean, they literally went there. The other thing I thought was kind of similar to I don't know if you remember Total Recall with Arnold
Mhm.
Schwarzenegger,
Oh
but
yeah.
there were some themes of Total Recall that were borrowed in this episode.
Hmm.
Um, Particularly the erasing of the mind and planting new memories. That was also used in Blade Runner, um, the original Blade Runner with Harrison Ford. Um,
Harrison Ford was in Blade
so
Runner.
yeah,
I
wasn't
didn't
he?
know. I don't know. I think I remember Richard Hurd in there, but I haven't seen it in so long. I don't know.
Is in Harrison Ford Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Then he was in he's the original Blade Runner.
Gosh, I should have.
Uh,
I need to watch that
yeah.
again, I guess.
Oh yeah, he kills Blade Runner. As a matter of fact, that movie was directed by a very famous director, if I can find his name here. It's a 1982 film. Yes, starring Harrison Ford and directed by one of the great directors of our day, Ridley Scott.
Oh, we know Ridley Scott very well.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite movies, actually, Blade Runner, because it deals with the I don't know if you've seen it, but it deals with implanted memories and it deals with androids living
Right.
amongst humans and if you could tell the difference and
Yeah, I don't know if
um,
I saw. I feel like I saw parts of it. Maybe that's what it is. And isn't Richard Hurd in that movie as well? Like he gets his face, like he pulls his face off or something like that. Anyway, I guess I have to
yeah, I
watch
don't
it.
see Richard Hurd. I do know that Edward James Olmos is in it. I think one of his first big movies.
What movie am I? Everybody at home, what movie am I thinking of? I swear, Richard Hurd rips his face off.
Maybe that's the second Blade Runner out of the remake that they made
He
recently because the
peels.
original is 1982.
People are typing in the chat right now. They're like, "No, that was obviously whatever it was."
Yeah,
It
they're
was.
saying that's a different movie.
It's a different 1982 movie or 19, if maybe even 79 or 80. Anyway, all right. So good Blade Runner knowledge. By the way, the lady's name was Arissa. Oh, and looks like we have to go to our first break. So we will hit that break and we'll come right back on the seventh rule. By the way, we're going to talk about Arissa. We're going to talk about Odo's Growl. We're going to talk about the secondary plot, the B plot that was extremely tiny. We're going to talk about the Nams, if there
Extremely
were any.
tiny.
Oh, I found one Nam.
Oh, you got a
Uh,
Nam? I'd like to hear that one on the other side.
yeah, so we'll get all into that. Boy, oh boy, we're going to get into this. And by the way, Arissa, the character's name, congratulations, Cirroc, because I know the Lakers just acquired her. Her actual first name is Trevor.
Oh gosh, we should have cut about 30 seconds ago, just
We'll be
before
right
that
back
joke.
on the seventh rule. That's Trevor Arissa for everybody that was wondering. Cirroc's like, can you just leave it alone?
Oh no, don't double down on it. Not the double down.
All right. So time to hit the trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. Trivioids were a little tougher this time because I felt like it was just mostly one through line. An Idanian
Right.
Tavid Rem gets killed on Deep Space Nine. The Queen's Gambit holosuite program has finally arrived. O'Brien is tired of being the bad guy. A weird alien has gravity emitter hidden in his ring to help his friend cheat at the Dabo table. Odo has bedroom eyes. A Gach tentacle grabs Major Kira's hand. Arissa breaks into the Assay office. Arissa was originally a net girl, as mentioned. Odo pays special attention to Escal because an air of stern suspicion is very important in his line of work. Growl. That's those. Boy. Oh, so the Nam. Should we say the NAM now or should we save it for the free for all? Let's just say it now, I guess.
Oh, just do it. Just do it.
So the NAM I could find was Felix. Felix was at the beginning, they mentioned that they got the Holosuite program from Felix. And that reminded me, if I remember correctly, Nog was mentioning, like maybe last season or earlier this season, that he got a Holosuite program from Felix as well. I don't remember what it was. I think it was when he was trying to get you, Jake, to do this Holosuite, like rock climbing or water surfing. There was something. He's like, hey, I got this new thing from Felix. Felix gets the best ones or whatever it was. So that was the NAM for Felix, but I don't think we ever actually see Felix. He's just mentioned, kind of like Quark's cousin Gala.
Okay, so he remains in non-appearance mode.
Right. Yep, he's a permanent.
Okay, no,
NAM.
I would have never caught the Felix one. I did hear the reference to the program, but I didn't catch that Felix was a recurring name that was brought up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Beyond that,
there were a couple of special moments that I did like in this episode. First of all, the late great Rene Auberjonois he's extremely talented. He can carry an episode on his own. In many ways, he does in this particular one, because he is mysterious in this way where you still it's like he's still figuring himself out, and we're still figuring him out. So it's like we're along for the ride as Odo kind of discovers himself and reveals even sometimes who he is, because he's very protective about himself and his feelings. So he doesn't open up as much unless he's making jokes on Quark. Then he's free to just go as hard as he wants. But other than that, he's very protected about who he is, and he doesn't like to be too open. But there was a moment there where I really liked the exchange. I thought it was a lovely exchange between him and Arisa. And she says something like, oh, you would do that for me? And he says, yeah, of course, and she says, you have a good heart.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. And
Yeah.
His answer was, I don't have a heart. Right. And she says, well, you couldn't tell, by the way you're treating me. You could have fooled me. The I don't have a heart line was just like, I don't know, it hit me hard. I don't know about you, but for me, it just felt like, because sometimes you just think there's certain things we take for granted, like, like you have a mother, you came from a mom, right? Like, how else did you get here? And the other thing is like that we have a heart, that all of us have a heart, and that we're alive because of it. And we feel like a lot of the ways our sensitivity, our emotions, our tenderness, our caringness comes from that heart, right? It comes from that heart that you feel like has those feelings. And when he says, I don't have a heart, it kind of puts things in perspective. Like, wow, this guy's learning all of these things, getting in touch with his emotions, getting in touch with himself without a heart. And it makes me think, like, what is the place that it emanates from, right?
It's not that organ, that's for sure.
Right. It's not.
I mean, it's not, because that's what it is. We've just attributed it to the heart, but it's really, it doesn't come from the heart. It feels like it does. Sometimes we feel it here, I think a long time ago, back in the day, I had heard that they used to think that the center of like their love center or whatever was like the liver or something like that. And then it became the heart. It's kind of like when people say, my stomach hurts, but they're really holding their abdomen, and his stomach is up here, it's just kind of it is an interesting thing to where, she says, out of the kindness of your heart, he says, I don't have a heart, but it's kind of, she could have been like, all right, smart ass, you know what I meant. But instead she's like, let me take this as another opportunity to flirt. well, you could have fooled me, sailor. They were just, were they laying it on thick, or were they, man, they just kept going.
They didn't make it subtext. They made it, they just put it right in their face. It was,
Yeah.
it was just basic text. Yeah. But yeah, that was just good. And then even like the flirting was going on and on. There was a moment where he said, so I see you broke into the computers and you've accessed the files and you've been doing this. And he's like, you're good, right?
Oh yeah.
And she says, and then she says, but you've been following me. He says, I'm good too.
I'm good too. Grumble, flirt, grumble.
Grumble. And if you make me really happy, I might roar like a lion.
Yeah. But here's something. Okay. I do kind of, for lack of a better term, I do nitpick shows, and especially, Star Trek and hour-long shows that try to convince us of a one episode romance. I think that's like the hardest thing to write in TV, is to convince us that two people are falling for each other in one episode, because they really have like 3 scenes to do it. They have the scene where they meet, then the scene where, it turns out they have something in common. And then suddenly the 3rd scene, they're just like, I've never loved anybody more than I love you right now. And then the one episode person dies, and then the regular is brokenhearted about it. And we're like, it's just not believable that they could fall in love so quickly, right? Now,
yes,
this was one of the very few occasions where I believed it, because they didn't really have a B plot. So we could follow them along through the whole thing. It wasn't just the circumstances. It wasn't just the mutual respect. It wasn't just the fact that they kept having to bump into each other because of what I mentioned, the circumstances. But then there was also like the consistent flirting that was building and building and building. The fact that she had to stay in his room, the fact that he was playing the protector, the fact that she was playing the mysterious lady, there was a lot to it, to where I'm like, okay, I could believe that these two could like each other and have sex this quickly. Whereas most of the time I'm like, come on, dude, it's too, we don't believe that they have a connection that quickly. But this time I thought it worked. I thought it was fine. With one caveat I'll mention a little later, but what did you think of that?
Well, I kind of have to, first I'm going to say I agree with you in the fact that I don't like it when they try to push these one-off episodes. Somebody just comes in there, sweeps them off the feet. I think Quark had an episode as well where there's a woman that, he was attracted to, they hooked up, and then she had to go at the end, right? Mm-hmm. And there was just some reason or another why she just like, it just can't be because of this or that or the other.
Or like when Jadzia falls for that one guy on that planet that fades in and out every 60 years or something like that. And in 3 scenes, we're supposed to believe that they've fallen for each other.
Right. And they've done this several times just in this show.
The Meridian, I think it was called.
Right. And I'm not sure if it was called the Meridian, but I'm saying right about the fact that they've tried to do this kind of theme where there is this person that comes out. It's either they've known each other in the past or whatever, and they try to explain away this amazing romance, an amazing night, and everything goes perfectly, but they can't be together, right? And that's why I was so suspicious of this episode. And I mentioned earlier that I was watching it with like one eye open, kind of thinking, is she an empath, or is there something that is she manipulating the situation? So I wasn't completely trustful of her, like Odo was. I was actually thinking, now she got herself in his quarters, and now she's going to access his security files, or now she's going to use this opportunity. She mentioned, I need to be there when O'Brien does the analyzes the crystal. And I was thinking, it's a setup. All this is a setup so that she can get her way and manipulate the situation. So there was a part of me watching this whole thing that was extremely distrustful of her. I didn't feel like she was this damsel in distress. I felt like she was
playing them,
a part of something that was not good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That she was kind of either connected to this thing, or this thing had more information than what is being talked about, maybe secrets, war secrets or something like that. I felt like she was on the run. I didn't feel like I wasn't buying her story completely. Even the fact that maybe Drame, the Orion Syndicate, may have sent her themselves to infiltrate and to get information just to bring back to the Orion Syndicate. So I was kind of suspicious of her,
Mm-hmm.
up until the point when they actually hooked up and I saw them in bed together, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess she was genuine, and I guess she really did like him.
Right. Oh, and by the way, I didn't know this, but apparently back in the day there were these Star Trek trading cards. I mean, I knew that, but there was a Star Trek trading card for this episode, and it's kind of ridiculous. Like, look at this.
Uh-oh.
It's called First Intimacy. Right here. You see that? First,
oh, wow.
the card, like, and then it's a line of cards called Greatest Moments. I mean, maybe for Odo, it's the greatest moment, but the rest of them, we're like, wait, this is one of the greatest moments, the time that Odo finally got laid? That's weird. And then it just mentions the episode and all this.
What is this called again? First Contact?
First Intimacy.
Oh, okay.
And here's the quote. You mean you're just doing this out of kindness of your heart? No, I don't have a heart. Oh, see, that was what we mentioned. Wow. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty, I don't know, peculiar. I did not know that, nor did I expect it.
Yeah, I had this written down as Odo's one night stand and last stand, right? First and last, but I don't know. It was good that he finally got it out of his system, like whatever
so to
his
speak.
system is
Am I right?
Of. Yeah, but there's a million things that I'm curious about, just in general, because as a species, I'm curious about, do the founders, as a species, do they reproduce in that kind of way? Are they aroused in the same kind of ways of intimacy that the rest of us are? So it made me kind of think, is that being true to himself, or is that the human side of him that he was able to live for the time that he was human, and that kind of developed and grew inside of him, and that is what is we're seeing the residual of his human experience, or is this an actual is he genetically or biologically able to kind of have these feelings and emotions and even carry out the act? It just makes me like curious about that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't want to see it, but I'm just curious about it, about the biological aspect of it, if it's even part of his genetic makeup, if he's part of his DNA. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then when she said, I wish I was, and they were in bed together, and he kind of put his hand on her hand, and she said, oh, I wish I could feel what it's like to be a changeling.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, wish no further. And I don't know what he did to her hand.
How did he not do that the whole night? Like, what? Talk about bearing the lead, because all I did was touch it. She's like, oh, and I'm like, dude, Odo, what were you doing all night? Hugging? What is going on? That you got like this special.
He was like, it's my first time. Could you tell? She should have said, yeah, I could tell.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, you were gooping all over the place. God dang, I needed a bucket for you. He's like, well, you said you wanted some gelatinous, whatever. Anyway, by By the way, I noticed you're wearing your bracelet still from the Star Trek convention. That's pretty. Oh, is that?
Thanks to
Those are.
Quadrant. These are the Lambda quadrants.
Yeah, you got
they're
two
green,
of
yellow,
each.
red bracelet.
Rather,
I got two of each.
That's called mixed signals, Cirroc, because they're supposed to mean like you're good to hug or you're good to handshake or you want to keep away, and basically you've got two of each. See, I got this one. I got the green one. Oh, it's tough to do. You're just gonna have to believe me that it's green because it's like green screen.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Right. So I got the Lambda Quadrant
like
green.
Gelatinous state.
Yeah, it does. And I've also brought the Aaron Eisenberg one.
Oh yeah.
So I was wearing that, and I've got the the one that Marina Kravchuk. Big shout out to her. She made a Star Trek Voyager to the Journey thing that she handed out, which was really awesome. Really appreciate her making those. But all the actual convention bands I cut off. Seems like you did as well. Anyway.
Yeah, no, this right here, this is a Lambda
looks really good
thing, and I just got it. I put them together for the green, yellow, red for the Ethiopian flag.
That's exactly the colors.
Yeah, I figured, hey, if I just put them all together, I might give mixed signals to people. They won't know whether to hug me, kiss me, or stay away from me.
But it looks like an African design you've got there, you know, is what it looks like.
Yeah, so I represent Ethiopia in this kind of a way, and it was
love it.
Very thankful to Stephanie and everybody at the Lambda Quadrant for being so gracious and generous, and just like everybody else, including the people at Be Kind, Chase Masterson, Anthony, Dominic, Connor, Nikki, O'Reilly, JG, Nikki. Got the chance this is a side note, but definitely got a chance to see Kenneth Mitchell again, and was such a sweet. He asked me, I told him how much we love him, and he said, "Can I get a hug?" He asked me for a hug, so I gave him a big hug, and that was a very special moment that I was cherished forever at this convention. So, side note.
Speaking of Kenneth Mitchell, I did also talk to him, and it's good to know that he has not lost his sense of humor, no matter what he's going through, which is unbelievable. He's still strong. He's still funny. He's still witty. And so, he said a couple things through his computer thing. And I said, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said something nice. I said, "Oh, it's really good to see you. So glad you made it." And then he kind of points to his thing and he goes, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
I was like, God bless you, Kenneth Mitchell. But he was probably thinking, no, I'm serious though.
No, he gave me one of those too. And it's funny because you're like waiting and you're waiting. You're like,
what's this? What's this thing?
Yeah. It's going to be special. And then he kind of makes you lean in and you're like, let me lean in and hear this. And it's one of those, it's like how me and Aaron used to play the middle finger game. It was just like he set me up and got me. And I loved it. And I really love him as a person, and it's hard to see him in that way, but he is really being strong for his family and for himself and for all of us who love and support him. So
all the love to Kenneth Mitchell. He's one of our favorite people ever.
Yeah.
So we've only got a few minutes left here. Real quick, there was a tiny subplot or B plot, and that was just the program that they set up. It was kind of like the opening scene, and then you thought you weren't going to see it at all again, but then you see it when Bashir is making out with that blonde girl. And one little mistake I thought might have been in the writing was, remember, they're playing these characters, and Chief O'Brien knocks on the window as the bad guy, and he says, "Car trouble, Mr. Bashir?" "Hi, Odo." Now, wouldn't he be calling Bashir the character that he's playing? Because if he was just calling him as his friend, he would call him Julian if he was playing as him. But anyway, either way, it was still funny because he's like, "Car trouble, Mr. Bashir?" "Hi, Odo." Like that was.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. The thing I picked up in that scene was when Bashir says, "Pull the car over, driver, pull the car over," And I'm thinking, is Odo sticking his head in the window while the car is driving? I thought that was kind of weird to me. I couldn't get my head around how that would be possible, even in a program.
Wow, you're right. That you should put it. This was your turn to wear the tie, Mr. Number.
Tell us, Beverly, what is it?
It's time for the nitpick, damn it. Okay. So Odo and Arissa meet one day, have sex the next day, and suddenly they're in love. Literally, Odo said, "I've fallen in love with you." And she says, "I love you too." Right. I could get that maybe they could have sex the next day, but they're in love. Like, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking maybe he's like, "I've fallen in love with you." Like literally 2 days after they met and 12 hours after he had sex for the first time. And she's thinking, "Oh, this guy just had sex for the first time. Of course he's in love with me." So she's going like, "Oh yeah, Odo, I love you. I love you too so much." But turns out I just remembered I'm married. Otherwise, boy, oh boy. Hey, here's a kiss on the cheek to show you how much I love you. Ah, oh, darn it. I really, boy, oh boy. Anyway, I'll see you never, probably.
Yeah. How many men do that every single day in this time period, right? They hook up with a girl and they say, "Oh yeah, I just forgot to tell you."
Whoops-a-daisy. I had a memory ruiner thing and it just came back. Turns out I love you. I mean, I love you too. I do. Very more than you do, in fact.
I just forgot after I drank that alcohol.
Yeah.
And now after I sobered up, I realized, you know what? I'm married.
Yeah.
So we can't be together.
Blame it on the alcohol.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a definite nitpick. I was going to say also that, just on a more serious note, I like the advice that Bashir gave Odo in this episode. Yeah. There was a moment where he said, "You can't go through life trying to avoid getting a broken heart." And I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, because I know a lot of people who have difficulty expressing their feelings for somebody, or even hinting that they have feelings for somebody. And so they bury and suppress. And the biggest fear that people have, that everybody has, even competent people, is rejection, right? Is they fear being turned down, they fear rejection. But, one thing as an actor that you have to overcome is fear of rejection, because you're going to be rejected many, many times as you go out on auditions and you don't get roles. So you have to kind of overcome that fear of rejection and be able to take it on the chin and move forward. And so I think that's a life lesson for everybody, to kind of overcome your fears, especially of rejection, and just put it out there, because when they say a closed mouth doesn't get fed, you kind of have to open your mouth and don't say anything.
I would, but we're out of time. Otherwise.
All right, good. But you have to come out and you have to be honest with yourself. And even if you get rejected, at least you don't beat yourself up for not trying and not being honest with yourself.
Right. So we do have to run real quick. Final seconds. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score. Cirroc is going to guess what he thinks the planet rated this thing.
It wasn't really it just didn't blow me away. It wasn't a blow me away type of episode. I think it was more of a blow Odo away, but that's on a separate note. I would give it a 7. I would give it
very close. 6.7 is what the IMDb users gave it. 6.7. We do want to give a very special thanks to Carmen, aka Skillet, PJ Thomas of Orville Nation, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Homer Freezy, Eve England out in Wales, Dr. Marie Segal, Dr. Susan B. Gruner, Tim Baum, Titus Mohler, John Mann, Mark Roco, and Darlena Marie. We're going to see you on the other side on the free-for-all. Stay tuned and always remember the 7th rule. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
As you know, this is the free for all. We are joined by Melissa Longo. We're joined by TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri. We are joined by Homer Freezy out somewhere in New Yeezy. I believe it's Upper Manhattan.
That's right.
And we're joined by Mr. Timothy Baum out in Indianapolis, just 2 or 3 hours away from Chicago.
Yeah.
So before we get started, I've got a fun question for y'all. But since Tim may or may not be able to answer this question, let's start with him on a different question, which is, you said you're probably going to be going to Chicago in April for the Star Trek convention. How much are you looking forward to this, and what are you hoping to see?
I'm really looking forward to it because, believe it or not, I've only been to one Star Trek convention ever. My wife, we had one in Indianapolis when we were dating back in 1989. She bought tickets for it. So it's been 32 years. I remember going to that one. One of the things I always look forward to is just the cosplay. I mean, some of the effort these people put into it, I'm like, whoa. With the Klingon makeup and everything, it's like, it looks like somebody just walked off the set. So that's one of the things that I've always been excited to see, is just see the parade of people, how they're dressed up. So
cosplay has really been growing and improving, lately, really in a huge way.
Very talented, very imaginative and creative people.
Yeah. Like Cirroc was cosplaying Jake Sisko on Sunday. He wore the shirt that said Jake. It just said Jake on it. That's his Jake cosplay.
Oh yeah, thank you guys for that birthday love. That was really special, man, and that was a great gift. I actually was wearing that shirt when I got back, and somebody said, "Hey, Jake." And for a second,
you're like, "Oh, you watch Star Trek?" They're like, "Nah."
They're like, "No, this is your shirt." So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Love it. That's so cool. So, speaking of which, I know we keep talking about this, but let's put a bow on it. We're kind of discussing at the beginning of this, since Star Trek Las Vegas, or the 55-year mission, is still kind of affecting our moods, but do you feel like you are in the Star Trek convention afterglow, or do you feel like you are in the Star Trek convention Las Vegas hangover? Are you in more of a hangover or an afterglow right now? Homer is nodding, so he already knows his answer. Since he slept like 15 hours yesterday, he's probably in an afterglow, not in a hangover. What do you think, Homer?
I am in an afterglow, Ryan. Yes.
Hands up.
Without the sleep, I would be still in the hangover.
Okay, that makes sense.
What about you, TJ? Or is it more of like a hang glow?
Too many
I'm not
options.
touching that.
Too many options.
Don't mess with that one.
Touch it.
I'm going to say afterglow. It was such a joy to be in everybody's company and experience everybody's vibrant personalities. Everybody was so warm and welcoming, and it was just so good to see everybody. So I'm in an afterglow.
All right.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, Melissa, are you afterglowing or are you hanging over?
I'm hanging over. No, I'm just kidding.
That was such a good delivery.
That was unexpected.
Yeah.
No, I'm more of an afterglow than a hangover, and right now.
Your
Maybe a
face is
hand
literally
glowing.
glowing. You literally are radiating right now through the television. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cirroc.
What about you, Ryan? How do you feel about it? You really didn't answer the question.
Yeah, because I think I'm in the middle. I think I'm in a hang glow because like I'm still in a good mood from, I mean, there were so many wonderful things, and we got to meet, I mean, more than half of our associate producers were there. And I don't think there's a likelihood that will ever happen again, unless we ever go down to like 3 associate producers. Then maybe we'll get 2 out of 3 somewhere. But I don't think that with, like, I don't think the chances are very high that something like that will ever happen again. So it's really cool and really unexpected that the amount of people, but also like the meetup, the 7th Rule meetup that we had, where 45, 50 people showed up in a convention that felt like it only had a few hundred people on the first day. Felt like a fifth of them were at our meetup, and it was just such a great time. Everybody was so positive. People were stopping me, walking by saying you're from the 7th Rule. People were recognizing our associate producers and guests from the 7th Rule, which was probably my favorite thing of the whole week. Cirroc was receiving an avalanche of love and adoration at his table as usual. He said just about everybody had at least heard of the 7th Rule, and most of them were watching it. So
Awesome.
Big positivity, definitely the afterglow from that. But at the same time, I'm under a tsunami of neglected work right now. So I'm kind of like, Cirroc and I were talking how we haven't even unpacked yet. All our stuff is still
I'm with you there.
unpacked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I got one thing out of the bag and put it back up.
and then put it back in.
I got out my toiletry kit.
Okay.
That's a necessity.
I have a
I
special
had to take
toothbrush.
the dirty clothes out of there. I was like, wait, these are dirty clothes. Let me take it out. And
I just did that last night.
I'm
Finally.
I can do that.
And Cirroc, I think you said you were you were saying you were hanging over, right?
I mean, a little bit of both. There's because it came on the heels of my Ethiopia trip. So I literally had a day and a half before I got back. So I didn't really adjust from the time difference or the jet lag before I had to get back on the road and do it all over again. So I'm still adjusting to what day it is, what time it is, and what time of day it is. So there's that aspect of it. But then the glow part is like, number one, for a convention that I felt like didn't have as many people as usual, that you usually see at a con, like at a creation con, it still felt intimate. It still felt like everybody got time to network and build friendships and socialize. So I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of that was happening at this particular convention. I was like, wow, this is actually in some ways better because the crowds weren't so big and the people weren't being funneled through lines, and there wasn't so much traffic to kind of weave your way in and out of. It felt more free flowing. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And I kind of feel like I've been deprived of interaction with people with this social distancing and everybody being in their own cocoon. It felt like a little bit back to normal in my point of view, just to be able to see people face to face and shake hands and take photos together and hear stories in person. That was like something that really helps deal with the post-traumatic stress of dealing with COVID that we're all kind of going through, having to socially distance and having to deal with loved ones being sick or avoiding being sick. So there was so much meaning in this particular convention. It felt very, I felt the family atmosphere of it more so than I normally feel when I'm at a convention. Normally it's more work and, get it done, and you have this schedule and you have to go here and then there. This felt more like a lot more relaxing and a lot more personable. And that's thanks to all of you guys, man, that were there and have showed us so much love, and the fact that we have building this relationship and this family over this amount of time, almost 2 years now. And it started to really feel like we were like connected in this deeper way. So I'm glad that I got to see TJ and Darlene and Yvette, Melissa and Homer and Anne Marie and Dr. Mohammed Noor. Was, everybody was so gracious and generous with their time and their spirit, and I loved it. I loved every moment of it. And also, Ryan, I didn't get to thank you personally. That that lunch that we had together, that brunch that we had was
it was
also
good time.
a special moment. Good times.
Yeah,
So-
we had a nice fun lunch together, all of the team that was present. We definitely missed people like Tim and Sue and Eve. Obviously, we would have loved to have you, but everybody that was there was able to make it. And that was really, really cool. And we were joking earlier that Mark Zicree crashed our party, which is hilarious. Good old Mark. Shout out to Mark
He
Zicree.
jacked
lunch
Homer for
crasher.
his seat. He jacked Homer for his seat. Homer was
came into
I was like,
kind of sitting there.
The best, and we don't have to go into detail, but the best was when Muhammad asked him for a picture.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not yeah.
That was Tim will have to tell you off the air.
Okay.
But real quick, you're welcome. That was awesome. I had a great time with that lunch. I was very happy that everybody was able to make it, that they carved time out of their schedules, not only for the meetup on Wednesday, but also for the lunch on Saturday or whatever it was. Really cool.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit more about this episode, because look how hard Homer and Tim they're like, yes, talk about the freaking episode finally.
I was following Tim's lead.
Okay, so I guess Tim, you want to go first then. Do you have any thoughts on this episode at all, or do you want to defer to Homer? I don't know.
No, actually, it is one of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes, and I was shocked that the IMDb rating was so low. But
it's low?
no, it's like
I don't think
6.7
Anne-Marie
or
has
something
voted
like
yet.
that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no, I enjoyed the storyline. But yeah, I still like to watch that episode every now and then, because it's almost like a feel good, but kind of bittersweet at the end. So yeah, good episode.
Yeah, well, like the IMDb rating isn't always the most accurate thing. It's just what IMDb users gave it over the last 2 decades or something. And as we know, people's perceptions and opinions of things change. And sometimes we go back and we say, wow, I rated that a 6. It should be a 9 or something like that, when you visit it a second time. But Homer, any thoughts on this episode?
Yeah. I think the 6.7 might be because it was a fairly slowly developing romance. And maybe there wasn't enough action for the voters at the time.
Oh, I beg to differ. Odo got plenty of action.
He did. And then I have to say, I feel like I should go with a bedroom voice. Because that's the way they talk.
Match the bedroom eyes.
Yes.
Bedroom eyes.
I don't even know. I don't think dark brown eyes are bedroom eyes, but I wish I had bedroom eyes. Yeah. I enjoyed the 2 characters at the beginning, and I don't remember what sort of aliens they were. But it was very much about, oh, look, you dirtied the carpet or something like that.
You ruined the carpet.
And so I was thinking of maybe like the beginning of Fargo or part of Fargo. And I was like, okay, it'd be so great to see these guys doing stuff later. And we do, they're eating Hasperat or whatever it is, but I want to see more of them.
They were Finians, I believe. They were Finians. And the lady turned out to be an Idanian operative. I had to look those up.
I enjoyed the story.
The place that's famous for the spice pudding.
Oh,
Really?
Spice pudding. Yeah.
Good
I mean, you've
knowledge.
heard that a few times.
Excellent knowledge. Is that in our Trekian names?
wow.
Nope, that's
I
one I
would've got
didn't write down.
7.5.
Could be.
Idanian spice pudding. That's good to know.
Love it. Yeah, I don't have it in my list.
TJ, great knowledge.
Excellent
Yes.
Great
knowledge.
knowledge. Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
And great and good.
Okay, Melissa, do you have any thoughts on this episode? I mean, I don't know if you watched it again recently or if you thought it was just way too naughty. Those two guys, those two were just flirting throughout the entire episode. Were you sick of that, or were you here for it? Were you like, give me more Odo flirtations?
I like Odo flirtations. It shows a different side of Odo, which is nice to see. It's nice to see him let his hair down a bit, Yeah. And even though I I'm always rooting for Kira and Odo, I liked these two together too. So they complemented each other very well, and it was nice to see somebody flirt with Odo too, I don't know.
I thought Nana played that really well when she's having that conversation with Terry about that. It's kind of like there's this mixed vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, because she doesn't really know yet that he has feelings for her. So, and he
has feelings for her? I'm kidding.
Reverse spoilers.
She seemed a little bit. She seemed to me a little bit jealous, right?
Jelly.
A little bit. But then she was being a friend too.
Yeah.
So I agree with Homer. She played that very well. Like that, walking that line.
That's something Cirroc and I didn't cover in this episode yet. That's a really good point. Was the scenes where we're watching, because we know where this is going, and we're watching Kira react, and she's like, no, it couldn't be. Dak's like, oh yeah, no, oh yeah, and Kira's kind of like, well, I guess that's okay if you're sure, but we know that she's kind of like, but Odo's supposed to like me. We're supposed to have gooey Bajoran children.
There was a scene also, that same scene. I liked Worf in there too, when he was like, Worf's small little cameo in this episode. He says, "You're not talking, you're gossiping," or something to that effect.
Yeah. He did 5 hours of make. He did 5 hours of makeup just to go, "You're gossiping."
And then he keeps interjecting himself into the conversation, and Dax is like, "Well, if you want to join the conversation, come down here.
Come down here and gossip with us."
Yeah.
And then there was the cherry on the top.
Actually joins in and start gossiping, right?
Yeah, he kind of swoops in. He's like, "Oh, really? Odo had sex, huh? A lady, really? Huh?"
Wow.
Yeah. Word travels fast on the station. And it was funny because Bashir was like, I think Odo was like, "Where'd you hear that from? Where'd you hear about us?" And Bashir was like, "Not from Dak, not from," he's like, "I heard it from O'Brien." O'Brien about it. Like, basically the whole station has run the front page story of Odo popping his cherry. So I thought that was pretty funny.
There was the changeling.
Popping his
changeling.
Popping his changeling.
That's a spoiler.
That was the pillow talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could just see it now. There was an alert on the station, just one of those like intercom systems. Please be advised, Odo has finally done it.
Yeah, and then Quark pulls out a pool. He's like, "All right, who had?"
Right.
And Morn goes,
"Right."
But then they cut.
Yeah.
TJ, do you have any thoughts on this episode? I don't know if you watched it again recently. I'll be honest, I did not really remember this episode. I mean, I know I've seen it, but like when I watched it, I almost felt like I was watching it with fresh eyes, which does happen from time to time on like the standalone episodes, Did you have any thoughts on it if you've seen it recently, TJ?
I'm with Melissa. It was nice to see, Odo kind of, have some feelings. And I have to wonder if his experience as a solid kind of moved him in a direction to where he was even capable of doing that, because I think before that we wouldn't see Odo, kind of get smitten, if you will, by a random woman at Quark's flirting with him and telling him he has bedroom eyes. Like that would go over him. So yeah, it was nice to see him, and nice to see Renee be able to give us Odo in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was also amused by the oh my God, how many people know about this? that kind of because that's the Odo we know, the Odo that's private. He doesn't want people to know, all of these things, but he also kind of needs a little help to get this thing moving along. And so he has to go and ask, and then he finds out, oh my God, everybody already knows.
What did you guys think of, this is another thing we didn't cover earlier, but what did you guys think of Arisa Tomei's, the character, the actress that played Arisa Tomei? What do you think of her?
I liked her
performance. Wow, that was a big pause there. I guess there wasn't very much good things. I think the actress's name was Dae Young.
Yes.
Yeah.
She seemed to do a great job, I thought. I mean, it's tough to come in and kind of, lead an episode along with Renee. And, we've seen that in Duet. I forget the gentleman's name, but he and Nana really just dominated that episode so well. I thought she did a very good job. Melissa, you agree?
I agree. I think she played the mystery very well and took us on that journey and with Odo very well.
And I watched her and I'm like, I know her from somewhere, and it was from Pretty Woman. She was the one that she was in the shop, that she was the sales lady in the shop.
Big
where
mistake.
Julia Roberts came back and said, "You work on commission, don't you?" Big mistake. Huge mistake.
Yeah.
That was her.
I think I forgot about that. I think Anne-Marie, our buddy Marie Segal mentioned that this past weekend at the convention. Yeah, that's a good one.
She does her homework ahead of time. She was on it already. I thought she was very beautiful. She was very graceful. Like I said, there were certain moments that I was a little bit distrustful of her. I didn't totally buy her story right away because she got caught lying a few times, and when somebody gets caught lying, I take away all their credit, right? Now I don't believe anything you're saying. So I wasn't sure if she was genuine about her feelings for Odo or not, or if it was some type of ploy. But when you start to dig down into her story and find out what she had been through with the Orion Syndicate, and then also having her memory wiped, and then you start to say, okay, that kind of makes sense. It made sense that she wasn't so knowledgeable of who she was, for her to kind of have that ambiguous thing. She's like, I don't know what's on the chip. I don't know this. I'm like, you know what's on the chip. How do you not know what's on the chip? You're risking your life for this thing. You're risking your life. You're going through all of this. Your friend just died over it. So, I wasn't 100% buying her story, but then as they started to explain away the background of the story and her character being an undercover, secret agent, it started to make sense.
Do you think that when she got the script, she's like, okay, I can do this. I fall in love with this guy. And then the first dress rehearsal, she's like, oh, he's going to look like that? What the hell? What the heck's going on around here? He's a monster?
Here's something I found. So Dae Young has also been in an episode of The Next Generation and also an episode of Enterprise.
I was going to say that. Yeah, she's been in 3 Star Trek series.
Yeah.
Whoa.
We got to do our homework better,
Masterpiece
Cirroc.
Society on Next Generation.
I see.
And 2 days and 2 nights on Enterprise, where they went to Risa.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, 2 days and 2 nights, but she's only 1 day.
Yeah, she's day young.
Oh,
And she's a young day at that.
Yeah.
The day is
Sorry,
young.
It's Ryan. It's just too
It's,
much of it. It's rubbing off.
distance
It's
yourself.
contagious.
Right.
Lock in that room
Contagious.
and lead.
You, Cirroc, because
It's
you
the
know
Ryan
that
variant.
if you didn't make that joke, I was going to. So you just had to beat me to it.
I beat you to it.
I was also
Like,
going to
we
make
cut
a
him off.
basketball joke about the rookies that the Warriors just got. Day young, man. They're like 18 and 19.
Oh,
They are.
Okay, take your time on the jokes. Offline.
So yes, so she played.
Not like the
Kayla.
Lakers. The Lakers have all
They got the
experience.
grandpas. Yeah,
the Lakers, day old.
day old. Sorry, Melissa and Homer.
Pacers going
Yeah.
to do it this year. So
Okay. That's enough.
Pacers.
You said the Pacers?
That's enough.
Said nobody ever.
Yeah, the Pacers
So in
didn't
French,
hold on
it's
to my
Arrête.
guy, Alizé Johnson.
Hmm.
You know what? I always wondered if Morin was properly taken care of, because he gets these scenes and he's always in these like crucial scenes, and I always wondered, was he compensated as a speaking actor and they just
Right.
said, we're going to pay you speak, or did they just pay him like a non-speaking actor? Because there is a difference in pay scale if you
Big
say
difference.
words and you don't. I hope they treated him. and
Surely
paid
there
him.
has to be something for the makeup also.
Right.
I would think.
Yeah.
He definitely got the
Yeah.
featured bump probably in the makeup thing. But yeah, I mean, he never got one line, and there's a chasm there in between. You could be like in the entire episode for 42 minutes, but you don't say a word, and then somebody shows up and just says yum and then walks off, and that person will get more money than you do.
Right.
So that's I don't know. We should ask him, Cirroc.
Yeah. We'll ask him when we have him on the show. If
Mark
he
Allen
says anything
Shepard
at all.
out in Germany.
We might have him on the show and he just doesn't talk. That'd be great.
We'll be like, is this mic on? And you'll be like,
Great.
All facial expressions.
yeah, we'll be like,
Just
so, but
not-
anyway, Mark,
Yes.
what do you think about Morn? And he goes like this, I'm sorry, that's all the time we have this week.
That'd be great.
Homer.
But yeah, I wasn't really
Yeah.
blown away by this episode. Homer, I'm sorry, Eddie.
No, I wasn't blown away either. But the reason for the pause when you asked the question is because I didn't realize that this character had a last name, and so I was thinking you were talking about Marissa Tomei. I was like, she wasn't in this. So now I know Arissa Day Young.
Yes.
No need to talk about basketball again. I thought she was fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
And her character was supposed to be unreliable, and she had her own motives, even though her inner self didn't even know what those motives were. So I thought she and Renee were wonderful.
Yeah, I agree with that. Their chemistry was legitimate. They worked well together. And it's funny because we mentioned this earlier, Ryan, but at the end when she says, "Oh, I'm married, I have a husband," it just made me think of how many times a guy has done that to a woman, right? And hooked up with them, had a really romantic night. Yeah, on purpose. And then at the end of the night,
but she didn't
after
know.
it's all done, right? She didn't know. But after it's all said and done, he's, "Oh, sorry. I know you fell for me. I know you love me, but I forgot to tell you."
Yeah. I got 7
I'm
kids. I'm moving next week.
Yeah.
2 wives.
Yeah. So they completely reversed that
Yeah.
in this really kind of science fiction way. But it does happen where, you just get slapped in the face with something like, "Oh, well, I guess this is not going to work."
But I still think that the reason she said that was just because Odo came on way too strong. He told her he loved her after like 2 days, and she's like, "Oh, okay, well,
look at the
Yeah,
time.
no, yeah, I love you
Wanna
too
look
for
at the
sure,
time. Gotta go.
but darn it, I just remembered I'm married.
Yeah.
Sorry about all that. Gotta run.
Aw.
Yeah, she's like, oh, do should be oh, don't. Anyway,
Oh God. No.
Yvette.
Wow. That deserves an Aaron Eisenberg. Wow.
Yeah, this pause of disappointment brought to you by Ryan.
I have to wear the wow of shame emoji now.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a wow
Well
moment.
deserved. Wow.
Well, on that note, I guess we should close out for this week. Unless Homer, did you look like you may have been getting ready to say something, or were you just going to pile on?
No, I was just exhaling and trying to get my blood pressure back down to normal. I'm good.
right. Well, thanks very much for joining us, TJ, Tim, Homer, and Melissa. We had a great time as usual. And boy, oh boy, there's many more coming. So everybody at home, thank you so much for joining us as well. Enjoy the live chat. Make sure you comment below. Tell us what you thought of this episode. Tell us what you thought of TJ.
Yeah.
or if there are any guests coming up that you'd like us to bring onto the show. And until next time, always remember the 7th rule.